'Twas but just a few moments ago, I was in the body of a architect, and I was designing the newest Chrysler building, but for some reason, here I am.
There's multiple Chrysler buildings now.
In Van Lee's body.
There's been a shortage. There's only the one.
Doing the Bootu Boys podcast. And those slobber knockers over here, that's not even an adjective. Or wait,
We can
noun.
make it one.
Brian Vaughn,
Hey, what's up?
come up with a strange noun.
Well, you took slobber knocker.
Yeah, I basically took the whole thing. Spencer, give us an adverb.
Oh, God. Badly.
Okay, fine. Let's go back to Brian. Give us a
Watermelon.
adjective.
Stupid.
And that describes the way the Boob Tube Boys go occasionally. Again, Van Lee, Spencer Hendricks, Brian Bond. We're talking Quantum Leap on today's episode. And oh boy, what a show this is. When I was a kid, I loved it. I look forward to seeing this every week. Al was my favorite. I particularly like Ziggy. So I was delighted to go back and watch this show, and I was not disappointed. It is a lot of fun to watch. Had either one of you seen Quantum Leap as kids?
None.
Nope.
None at all?
Nope.
I'd never leapt. This is one of these scenarios that pops up every now and then from an early 90s show, from when I was a little too young to know what was going on entirely, when the show is not whatsoever what I thought it was.
What did you think it was?
I thought this was a serious sci-fi show.
Oh, okay. It's not that.
No. My first instance with kind of realizing it might not be was when you introduced it last episode.
Mm.
And I realized this might be silly. There's chimps in it.
Did you have a preconceived notion about Quantum Leap, Spencer?
I'm not even sure that I would have heard of it for some reason. It just didn't ever register in my conscious mind. So when you brought it up, I was thinking, what is that? I had no knowledge at all about it.
That's interesting because it makes me wonder, why did I watch it? How did I know about it since you guys have so little information about it? But I genuinely watched the show week in and week out. I looked forward to seeing the next episode.
Well, I mean, I was watching Empty Nest.
True. Spencer, what were you busy with?
So this was
89 to 94?
I don't think I watched a lot of 80s TV, or at least not that I remember, but early 90s was all the regular.
You might have
boring.
been watching Growing Pains.
It's possible I was doing some reruns of TV shows like that, but I just watched a lot of typical kid fare at that time, a lot of animated series like Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers.
That's fair. It's a good one. Maybe someday we'll cover it.
Maybe Manhunter or something.
Wait, I was thinking of Mindhunter. Man Tracker, that was that Canadian show where what they would do is they would take people and put them out in the wilderness in Canada and say, okay, you got a head start, go. And then 2 hours later, this Canadian guy on a horse would hunt them down. And the contestants never won. They could never
I like
escape.
this because no one can die. I don't like these wilderness reality shows where they really exploit people. I like the idea of just, there's a weird guy who comes and finds you and then it's done.
Yeah, he would lasso people, and he was just a polite Canadian man.
I'd be lassoed. I've never been lassoed. I guess I watched Ted Lasso. You could call that being lassoed.
Yeah.
Were you into that or not?
That is as 6 out of 10 experience as I've had.
People love that show.
Is exactly what I was going to say. I could guess it would be a 5 or a 6 out of 10 since everyone loved it. It has to be like, I bet it's fine.
It does start stronger than that.
I think the big thing with that show is that it's super positive, and that's rare in today's media. So I think it struck people a little stronger than it might. But I don't like Jason Sudeikis that much.
I prefer my Jason Sudeikis as an asshole.
Right.
I think that's what he fits into more. And, you know, the unrelenting positivity of Ted Lasso, yeah, it did get kind of annoying because it falls into this category of recent comedy that I like to talk about how, unfortunately, Rage Against the Machine spawned a lot of bad, horrible rap rock, nu metal music, despite being very good. Well, Parks and Recreation is a very good, very nice show.
It's very polite.
That I think spawned a lot of very not good, polite shows.
Okay, I get it.
Shows that are like, we can be funny without being mean, and I really applaud that goal, but you do still have to be a little funnier than just kind of a polite smile.
All right, well, we're not talking Ted Lasso today. We're talking Quantum Leap. We're doing Season 3, Episode 17, Glitter Rock. And I'm going to ask before we even start, and don't spoil either of these episodes, which one did you like more, Glitter Rock or next week's? Spencer?
I think I felt like actual things in the chimp episode that we're covering next week. So I would go with that one.
It moved you
there
more?
There were two very different sort of things that we got to experience in these. So
I will say
they each had kind of redeeming qualities.
We did get a strong juxtaposition between the two episodes. I can't resist fake musical worlds. Yeah. And Quantum Leap put work into this one, which we're going to get into, which isn't always the case. I think I should point this out now. Van has a fetish.
What fetish is that?
All the time, we give Spencer guff for his grandma selections
Or
when he picks his
ghosts.
episodes, or ghosts. Those are his two things. Well, you have picked, with Wonder Woman and with Quantum Leap, somehow a set of episodes that are about a fake 70s band and an ape.
Yep.
How have you done that?
That is interesting.
When you like something, you stick
You
with
got
it.
your thing, and I can't disagree with any of these things, you guys. Grandmas, ghosts,
Apes.
yeah, apes, 70s rock bands that aren't real.
Yeah, so next week we'll be covering season 4, episode 7, The Wrong Stuff, and it has an ape in it, so it's a little bit of a teaser there. Well, let's get into Quantum Leap as a show. It's actually the brainchild of our old friend, Donald P. Bellisario.
Boy, he has a lot of weird brain children.
He sure does. He's a man I've already covered. He also created the previous Bootu Boys show, Magnum PI, and I like to refer to shows as ours. Like we have ownership of Magnum
Once
PI.
we do it, we claim it.
That was actually his first show. And long story short, he worked under such legendary producers and Bootu Boys heroes as Glenn Larson and Stephen J. Cannell, other names we say a lot in the producer section.
Renegade.
And Bellisario broke out in a big way in 1980 with Magnum, but then also created Airwolf, JAG, NCIS, and something else called Tales of the Gold Monkey.
If it sucks, he might have made it.
It's possible. And then, of course, Quantum Leap. Bellisario says he got the idea for the show thanks to a book he read at the time about time travel, as well as the movies Here Comes Mr. Jordan, which was about a boxer who was taken to heaven before he was supposed to go, and then also Heaven Can Wait.
I want to see that maybe, because I think that's where Warren Beatty is just a slime ball, but they let him into heaven on accident.
Mm-hmm. And then there's a kerfuffle.
Yeah.
That sums it up. But then also the 1960s television show, The Time Tunnel, which is about a tunnel that you go through and then you go through time.
You know, I wouldn't have guessed that from the title.
Bellisario figured this would be a good way to push an anthology series, which at the time was not something studios really liked. And this is, of course, the late 80s. Fortunately for Bellisario, he was good friends with our old buddy, Brandon Tartikoff at NBC, and Old Tardy. What a horrible nickname that was.
The book I'm reading right now, he's in it again.
Is he?
Brandon Tartikoff.
I don't think anything happened in TV history they didn't go through that
Or
guy.
film. He was apparently big in the film industry in like the 70s and 80s
Got his
before
sticky
TV.
fingers
What
all over it.
Powerful man.
Well, he okayed the idea for Quantum Leap. Off they went.
I mean, he's so busy. He probably was like, yeah, whatever. I don't even care.
Do you know who I am?
Cast-wise, there are really only 2 recurring characters, and those are Sam Beckett and Al Calavici. Sam's the main star. He's played by Scott Bakula, who I actually assume is named Scott Dracula, but he changed it to avoid a bunch of stake-based persecution.
Really lazy substitute. He's like, I can't let anyone know. Bakula. That's what he'll be.
Appears in one episode of What We Do in the Shadows as himself, and they can't understand that he's not a Dracula.
Okay, that's good.
It's fantastic.
I like that.
And he's good in it. He is very, he knows what he's supposed to do.
Well, you know, it is ironic that his name is Scott Dracula because really he's got like a Frankenstein head.
Yeah.
He's got a big, droopy, long
Let's
forehead.
talk about this guy for a second.
Do
what
you like
do we think
him?
of Scott Bakula?
I like him.
I don't think he's very good, but I like him a lot.
Yes, he's charming.
There's a charisma, because I have thought he's good in other things.
In the second episode, the one we're covering next week, I thought that it took quite a bit of charm and kind of a not taking himself too seriously
Kind
to
of
do
impressive
to do
physical
some
acting.
of those scenes he did. So I
Because
actually
he's nude.
mostly with the chimp beside
with
him
a
the whole time.
diaper.
And I ended up coming away with quite a bit of respect for him. I think for sure he's not any kind of major talent as an actor, but he has something very likable about him. I would
He
agree.
does. He has something that I'm starting to appreciate more with old age, which I couldn't understand when I was younger, which is, why do I like watching this person on screen, even though they're not perfect at their job or whatever? And that's actually pretty valuable.
Yeah,
And he does have it.
definitely. He's got that screen presence.
I strangely associate him maybe most with Men of a Certain Age, a short-lived drama series on TNT with Ray Romano and Andre Brower, which I
Interesting.
liked. I maybe I should rewatch it now that I'm of a certain age.
R.I.P. Andre Brower.
Yeah. Oh,
Too
man.
bad. Funny
That
guy.
sucks. Very young, too. I think late 50s, maybe.
Let me tell you this about Scott Dracula in Quantum Leap. And I think it may change your minds a little bit as to, because he didn't seem like a great actor in this. Part of it is when he jumps, there's a thing called, they call in the show, Swiss cheese brain. And essentially it scrambles him a bit because you see at the beginnings of episodes, he almost walks around like he doesn't know how to walk or be a human. And that's an actual stylistic choice to show that every time he leaps, it's fucking with his head. So there's a
Okay.
little bit of that involved with him just being kind of awkward at times.
I like knowing this because there is a certain quality to his character, Sam, at the beginning of these episodes where he questions everything repeatedly as if he's never done a mission before.
Yep, that's why.
And he's not actually choosing these missions, right? He's just
No.
Who
leaping.
is?
He's leaping around trying to get home.
Well, I'll actually get to that as we cover his career. I'll discuss what his character's
cool.
concept was and why he's doing what he does. He was a real actor. That's, I guess, what we can say about him. He's been in a ton of stuff. You mentioned What We Do in the Shadows. He was actually a theater actor with a few television roles here and there, such as a spot on Matlock or Designing Women, and also something called Eisenhower and Lutz. I don't know what that is.
I think that's a show where Eisenhower's a detective with his
Mhm.
friend Lutz. That's his partner.
What's Lutz's deal? Is he a
He's a big
dog?
robot.
Oh,
Isn't
okay.
Lutz like a famous brand of chips or something in that time, like a long time, in
Sure.
the 60s or
Utz
something?
is.
Okay, that's what I was thinking of.
Maybe he's a big potato chip.
Yeah, he's just sitting there eating chips.
It's Dwight Eisenhower and a big potato chip.
I'd watch that show.
I would watch that.
Well, he lands the lead role in Quantum Leap and had a few good years there. And since then has had roles in American Beauty, Boston Legal, Law and Order, It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, and of course, one of his most famous roles as the lead captain in Star Trek Enterprise. That was a 2000 Star Trek show. What I think is that Star Trek fans didn't like that show, but I don't know. That's just completely out of my ass. Now, the character of Sam is that of a prodigy. Prior to time traveling events in Quantum Leap, he's a scientist who theorized that it's possible to time travel, which of course he then proves here. He also was musically talented, athletically gifted, and has a photographic memory, which explains his ability to do any role when he leaps into a body. Like he's going to be a musician in this. That's because he was talented at music previously. What happened was he had government funding to prove that he could travel through time. He didn't have results after like 5 years. So of course the senators were like, we're going to pull the plug unless you do something. So he says, fine, we got to test this, even though it's not proven. I'll do it myself. So that way nobody else gets hurt.
So this is probably Reagan's fault.
It's Reagan's fault, yeah. But no, actually, it's the future from the 90s. So it's probably our time now is when he first goes back in time.
And then he couldn't get back to his original.
Yeah, the problem is he leaps into people, but they can only be leapt into if
Which,
they were alive
listeners,
during his
do not-
lifespan.
Do not do that.
And then his sidekicks, Al, who we'll meet later, as well as a few other people we don't see in our 2 episodes, were other scientists at the Quantum Leap factory. It's actually called Project Quantum Leap. And Al, for example, is still alive in the future. He's hologramming in, which is what we see during the show.
Al's from the future,
Yes.
not the past.
No. He's just helping out in the past.
I like this concept, though. Okay, so one of us starts acting strange at some point. We might be like, is Scott Bakula inside you right now? Has he leapt into you and taken over you?
You didn't invite him in, did you?
I just feel like I might be able to explain. I'm sorry I was weird for a couple of days there, Scott Bakula.
It's that time of the year.
And by the way, whenever he leaps into a body, that person's consciousness or whatever is held in like a waiting room so they can kind of find out about what's going on.
Did they
or
feel
see it.
more ripped?
I'm assuming so because he's in good shape.
And he's usually saving their lives, right?
Yeah, because they typically die or
Yeah,
something
Or at least in
horrible
the 2 we
happens.
saw, they were about
Can we
to.
all agree we're just calling him Scott Bakula? I'm not going to remember to call him Sam.
Well, he hardly
I go in
refers to
between.
himself as Sam.
I'll probably go in between two, but for the audience, if we say any of the following things, Scott Bakula, Scott Dracula,
Tonic.
Tonic, yeah.
Tonic,
Bobo.
Bakula, Dracula,
Bobo.
Bobo,
Honking.
Sam Beckett.
Any of the above, we're talking about Scott Dracula.
I'm glad Spencer found a way to get Aerosmith in this episode.
He's the one that did it too. That surprises me. It wasn't you.
It's
No.
the
And
first
then I would
thing
guess
that
it was
came to
me.
mind when I saw Bobo. It's like, oh,
Honking
honking
on
with
Bobo.
Bobo.
Yeah.
Oh, was it on? I thought it
Well,
was
some people do try to honk on him, but thankfully Scott Bakula saves him.
with. I like my idea better that Aerosmith wrote a song honking with Bobo. We're going to get Bobo and honk with him.
Well, it's better for Bobo because, he gets to jam with Aerosmith. That other lead role, by the way, is Al. We mentioned him. He's played by talented and successful actor Dean Stockwell. Again, R.I.P., recently died.
And he may have the performance of the cast. He is very tickish and he has a lot of mannerisms and he just has his own style with it.
Yeah, he's said that he based the character a lot on Donald Belisario. And there was actually a little documentary thing I watched where they asked the actors, okay, what are they based on? And Donald Belisario was like, He's not based on me. What is it? Just because I'm lecherous? And this is a single interview with him. Then they cut to a different interview done at a different time with Dean Stockwell. And Dean Stockwell goes, well, he's kind of lecherous. So that's like, and then fucking Sam says it too. He calls it lecherous as well. Anyway, yeah, he's a bit of a womanizer. He's got a cigar at all times. He's just a go-getting, sassy kind of guy.
Dean Stockwell will carry these scenes almost. Like, even it's not that Bakula's bad, but he will be talking underneath and around Scott Bakula's dialogue and stuff that almost seems half improvised.
And I think most of it was. And the other thing is nobody can see his character aside from Sam.
And animals.
Animals and children. But we'll talk about that next week.
I was wondering, okay, maybe that's better for next week, but I was kind of wondering if they didn't have a choice for the chimps to acknowledge him because they would. It's a person there. So
Sure.
they were like, let's write it in. But he may have had previous episodes where they had animals that could see him.
I do see why this show needs a minute explanation for what it even is to start. And this is a thing that doesn't happen now, that happened all the time in the 80s and
all
90s,
the time.
which is, look, the show itself is pretty easy to just watch, but the concept, you're going to have to sit down and let Grandpa tell you all about it first.
And Dean Stockwell, by the way, has had a hell of a prolific career. He was a child actor, and he has credits ranging back to the 1940s.
Wow.
I didn't want to list his roles. They're just too many. So I thought instead, I would give you the list of shows that Dean Stockwell is on that the Bootu boys have covered. And there's more than like two.
I definitely saw one.
We have The Twilight Zone, Mission Impossible, Columbo, and of course, our most recent show, Batman Beyond.
Oh, wow.
Is he a killer in Columbo, do you know?
I don't know. I'm assuming.
That would be really interesting.
Because that's a big name grab, so I bet he would have been the killer of the episode.
I'm going to have to figure out what that is.
And then Al's full name is, of course, it's not a name, it's his title too, Rear Admiral Albert Calavici. He was Sam's best friend too. I guess he was a bit of a womanizer, married his first wife, who was his love of his life. And then he got caught in Vietnam and he was a prisoner of war. She thought he was dead, so she married somebody else, broke his heart. And that's why he's a womanizer. And he's had 4 other wives since, because I think he mentions his 5th wife in one of these episodes.
One of these days, it's going to work out for old Dean Stockwell.
Al typically does dispense advice to Sam. That's his role here. And he can communicate with Ziggy, which is basically like a central computer that Sam crafted in the future that can, I guess, crunch numbers.
Sort of.
Because it gives you percentages a lot.
It seems like it's surprisingly limited, considering the technology they're supposed to have and the knowledge they have.
This is another big trope that was heavily used in the 80s and early 90s. We saw it in Knight Rider. We saw it in Bible Man.
Having a thing.
The technology god thing that just tells you things.
It's funny you say God, because I do refer to Ziggy as a deus ex machina at times, because it pushes the plot forward, it fixes things. And the idea is that Sam has this little Lego glow-up device that he can communicate with Ziggy.
Shit.
Ziggy does have a voice. It's Deborah Pratt. You don't necessarily hear her on the shows often, but you do hear her in the very first intro of 2, where she narrates what's going on.
It's 5 minutes before you watch Quantum Leap.
Now, there are a few other recurring characters throughout the seasons, mostly scientists from Sam's team. One of them is Dr. Irving Gushman, and we hear him mentioned in our shows.
That was said out loud, Gucci, and I just ignored it.
Well, he's the lead programmer of Project Quantum Leap. He was played by comedian Dennis Wolfberg, who had a really cool mustache and like evil scientist hair. I didn't know who he was. He died young.
Imagine if the Titanic had hit one of those.
But he seems like a funny dude. I don't know. We don't see him in this episode, but great. The only other scientist I'll mention is Dr. Donna Elise. That's Sam's wife. She was the director of Project Quantum Leap. She was played by Terry Hatcher, of New Adventures of Lois and Clark fame.
And Seinfeld and Desperate Housewives.
As well as Mimi Kuzik, who played the older version of the character. So Sam sees that character at different times in her life. And that's pretty much the concept behind the show. You get it? You guys understand what we're about to watch here?
I sure do. I don't think anyone listening, if they haven't seen this, quite understands
it took me the majority of like the whole first episode to kind of get, okay, I kind of see how they operate here and what they're doing.
This episode, we have kind of a notable guest star too, John Grease, who plays Flash, one of the more memorable characters we'll talk about.
Flash McGrath?
Yes, Flash McGrath, guitarist in the band King Thunder, alongside Scott Bakula. He's been in a lot of stuff. He was recently in White Lotus, the HBO show. He's also played Uncle Rico in Napoleon Dynamite.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And he was in Get Shorty that I watched maybe a month ago.
Is it any good?
Yeah, I liked it. I had never seen it.
Got Joe Pesci in it.
John Travolta's in it.
He says, "Yeah, you get shorty." He says the name of the thing. It's the movie.
And he's probably talking to Uncle Rico.
Yeah, you do that.
I would never have drawn that conclusion there. Because I mean, I can picture Uncle Rico in my head doing his lines, and I just never ever saw that in Flash.
McGrath. Well, Flash always also has face paint.
Yeah, he has a scene, I think, at the end where they're all normal, doesn't he?
There might be one.
But it's not much.
And he's young. You know, he's got his poofy hair.
Yeah, it would have been a good 10, 12 years before Napoleon Dynamite.
This is around the era Uncle Rico's talking about being so awesome. You know, maybe, and he was right. He was Flash McGrath.
He was pretty amazing. Our episode begins with what I would call the show's first intro sequence. It's that voiceover we mentioned where Ziggy, voiced by Deborah Pratt, explains the premise of the show. Let's just listen to it. That's the best way to do this.
Theorizing that one could time travel within his own lifetime, Dr. Sam Beckett stepped into the quantum leap accelerator and vanished. He awoke to find himself trapped in the past.
Oh no, the past!
Facing mirror images that were not his own, and driven by an unknown force to change history for the better. His only guide on this journey is Al, an observer from his own time, who appears in the form of a hologram that only Sam can see and hear.
And smokes cigars nonstop.
Finds himself leaping from life to life, striving to put right what once went wrong, and hoping each time that his next leap will be the leap home.
That whole time that voiceover is explaining everything, we see Sam doing a bunch of cool stuff. He walks through a cool light blue flame, gets lightning bolted like he's in a magic show featuring someone who calls himself the Angel of Death. He holds an old lady's hand, puts on lipstick, sees himself in the mirror as like a big old dauber football player.
Which, fine, but this isn't as good as the second intro.
No, it's way better. Way, way better. Now with the he was good at his job business out of the way, we can get to the good stuff. Sam Lightning Bolt leaps his way into his next human body, this time finding himself wearing a very 1980s, like poofy, huge Chia Pet wig. And he's dolled up in full face makeup. He's got big stars covering his eyes, black lipstick covering his lips.
Van, you already addressed a big problem with this episode. This is absolutely a 1980s hair metal band.
But it takes place in the 70s.
Yeah.
Yeah, didn't like
74 even.
Yeah, this is 280s. He is, of course, accompanied by a rockin' soundtrack. We've got some screaming guitars, the rhythmic thump of drums. And I know I just played that clip, but I'd like to play another one. So
you have to.
Set the mood. So this is the music that's playing in the background. Oh, wait.
I think you pressed the wrong button.
Wrong one. No, sorry. But isn't it weird that I've got 2 episodes with this?
It is bizarre that you've done this but I'm not complaining.
Well, Sam's rightfully confused all this. Again, he's got the Swiss cheese brain. He's a little disoriented.
Smells a little like feet.
He looks around to see that he's in the middle of a rock concert. He's standing there holding a double axe, and it was made to shred, my friends. He's surrounded by bandmates who all have the same, Kiss-like makeup on.
Which is another confusing element of this whole thing. But I mentioned this earlier, the depth and dedication of the presentation and lore of King Thunder, I do appreciate.
It is impressive, the detail and the depth that they went to do this.
One of the things I love about Turbulence 3, which we covered, the movie, there's a lot of fake song titles.
And I kept expecting for one of them to tell the audience to screw their miserable souls because that exact experience they
weren't ever on a plane.
No.
Did you guys miss that scene that happened about 35 minutes in?
That's when Tonic really got into his role.
To his right is another poofy-haired bandmate with a guitar who asks him, hey, are you going to do it or not? Sam kind of looks around before finally walking up to the microphone, and he says his catchphrase, oh boy. And yes, that is his catchphrase. He says it constantly.
Which is kind of Sam's thing also. Like, one thing about Scott Dracula is that we've talked about it, he's an in-shape guy who's supposed to play a guy with no flaws, who's also a genius.
Mm-hmm.
So it's good that he's a little doofy.
He's meek, too.
Yeah.
He's very soft-spoken most of the time, which I think does play to a benefit.
Especially because Al, not soft-spoken.
What's that, Spencer? What'd you say? You'd like to hear more intro sequence? Well, guess what? We got another one. This is the second of the show's 2 intros.
And we're about 45 minutes into the episode here when the second intro kicks in.
And this one has a jaunty little piano theme song going. You heard it at the beginning of our episode. And it shows some things like sky, blue flames, a bunch of dates.
Yeah, some years we've had in the past.
The years popping up just as if, look at this, is my favorite part. 1971.
That was a year too.
Oh
It's
my
like
God.
It keeps acting
Which
like,
one which one do you think they're going to show us next?
And it doesn't necessarily pertain to
No,
what he's
no.
doing.
They're
Not
just
at all.
putting years on there.
And
random
then
years.
it'll do that, and then it'll say like 1991, and then it'll show him in a saloon.
Well, there's a whole lot of Sam punching and slapping people too. It's pretty neat. I think my big problem is I do not like the Quantum Leap theme song.
No, it sucks.
It doesn't even fit.
No.
Where did they get that idea?
It
to put that in
sounds
there?
like a family comedy.
It does. It could have been Elf.
Bingo, but it is not what this show is.
There's also a lot of Dracula in the intro,
Oh yeah?
which is Scott Bakula in women's clothing. He is dressed in drag in
You
several
can
scenes.
tell they loved that. They thought that was super comedic.
At that time, yeah, the idea of a man dressed in unconventional clothing would probably just of itself be like, wow, we know this is funny.
That's the scene. Yeah, and you can tell Scott Bakula is hamming it up in those scenes when he's supposed to be a girl.
He's always hamming it up.
He's busy digging through the ditches, Spencer.
Mhm.
Probably burning the witches. Actually, one thing about the show is they didn't do the female thing, is what Donald Belisario said about it. They didn't have him jump genders until, I believe, the second season. The cliffhanger at the end of season 1, I believe, because, they show you a little snippet of what's to come, was that he was jumping into a woman. So I thought that was kind of a neat little, come back for season 2.
Yeah, we'll see
Look
what
we're doing.
happens. Yeah.
But there's a very famous episode, I believe it's the 7th, and we saw it in the intro sequences, where he's a black man and he deals with race. And this show does that a lot. They touch on more social issues, and I think they do a fairly good job.
They're definitely trying stuff like a lot of shows of this era were, and some of it, like I bet you, was handled well, some of it probably not.
Yeah.
And I don't know about the not. I like what they're trying to do some in the next episode in that regard.
Where he's an ape.
Some of it also doesn't work and is overstuffed, but like, the messaging for a dumb show is fine. But I did happen to notice the episode before it is just flat out titled Raped.
Is it?
You probably don't want to title an episode that.
You don't do that anymore,
And
certainly.
just thinking about it, and it's an artifact of a different time, but still, I can't imagine this show needs to be handling that topic.
Well, after the second of the 2 intros, we are now back at the concert where most of the glam rock band is still rocking and dancing about on stage. Sam kind of looks like a sheepish dork, just doing nothing. He's just standing there. The concert ends and the band is seen pushing their way past dozens of screaming fans when Sam's eye lingers on some 90s kid in the crowd. And again, this is supposed to be the 70s with an 80s band, but this kid's from the 90s.
This kid also, his mannerisms and meekness gave me a real Denny from The Room vibes.
Exact same thing. I was going to say his hair, his whole demeanor is not that far from Denny.
Well, Sam sees this kid and we get some overly dramatic music while the screen goes into slow motion. And then when they did that, they said, you know what, every time he sees this kid, let's do that. Because they do it 4 more times.
Let's pretend Jason's on the loose every time he sees this little kid.
You know what he tells him at the very end is, "You're not my fucking father."
The band makes it past the crowd into their dressing room alongside several screaming and presumably horny women. But that same bandmate that asked Sam if he was going to do it or not shoves our hero and accosts him for refusing to play his new songs. Sam says he forgot and apologizes to the guy, but the guy threatens him, saying, next time, you better remember.
They're all British, right? Except for Tonic.
Well, I mean, they're trying to be British, but yes.
So this poses the question. I'm assuming we only hear Scott Bakula, but what they see and hear is Tonic.
Yeah.
So I'm sure to them, it's just Tonic in his normal British accent.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because much like next episode,
Where he
when he talks,
just
it's ape noises.
makes his chimp
So
noises.
if Bakula would have been honest, it would have sounded like this to them. Oh, I've just been doing a bit of a quantum leap.
Bingo. But just then a derpy little guy with a mullet and his big square glasses pushes through and chases all the hotties out of
I
the
like
room.
looking at this guy. He's confusing.
He's something to look at. And we get a glimpse of the head of security as well.
I like him too.
That's a guy named Whitler, who the best I can say is he looks like Bluto from that live action Popeye movie. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
And he's straight up whittling. He has a stick and a knife and he's whittling it. So he's named after what he does.
It's kind of like a genetic cross between John Goodman and Robert Z'Dar.
Sure, big chin and everything. A little later, Sam grabs a rag and starts to wipe off his face paint, but that smarmy guy with the glasses and mullet tells him to remember the rule. Never take off your makeup until you get to the hotel, because it adds an air of mystery to the band. That's a KISS rule. You couldn't be seen in public without your makeup. Until later, when they took the makeup off and then had like a tour where they're like, we're doing the same stuff, but makeupless, because we make good art, but it turns out they make hot garbage. that's like poppy songs.
We've probably even talked
I
about
don't like
this
Kiss.
on the podcast, but how did that work? I mean, those are boring songs that sound like nothing interesting, but the band is dressed up. That's why I guess they dressed up like kitty cat men.
It's theatrics. Yeah, people go for the show and the bad music.
Gene Simmons had that tongue.
That's
what it is.
Mhm.
The tongue sold
Sometimes
everything.
when I get frustrated about, today, it's like if someone wants to see live music, they want to go see a spectacle of dancing and stuff. And like, it's not for me, but it's not, whatever. But I'm soothed by remembering that it's kind of always been this way.
Well, this guy reveals he's the band's manager. His name's Dwayne, and he says he's responsible for the band's success, including the idea to wear makeup. All of this through a bunch of exposition dialogue. He's played by a guy named Peter Noone, I believe it is, but it's Noone, so it looks like no one.
Peter No One.
Yeah, that's all I could see when I saw his name,
He's real close to being Peter Nooner.
which is when he has sex most often.
Yeah. And this guy looks like he's doing that a lot, this manager Dwayne, this band manager, who is doing the suit jacket over King Thunder t-shirt look.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty cool.
Well, we also find out the names of several band members. Notably, we've got that Sam's name is Tonic. We've said it earlier. And the angry bandmate's name, of course, Flash McGrath. Eventually, the band escapes only to be hounded by more adoring fans. And Sam sees that same 90s kid from earlier, and guess what they do? Slow motion, dramatic soundtrack. The band climbs into a limousine alongside Flash McGrath's girlfriend, Sandy. Flash also screams, "Bug off, you bunch of bleeding piranhas!"
Is that what he said?
I want to clarify, he did not say, "Bug off, you bunch of bleeding piranhas heads." Should have.
He would
didn't.
never have the gall to say anything like that to Piranha's head.
I've got fish that squirt.
I'm on top of a building and crashing another building.
Inside the limo, Flash asks Dwayne about how much money the band made that night, and Dwayne goes over a list of expenses, eventually telling the guys, you should invest your money into an appropriate retirement fund instead of, buying a cool Ferrari. Sam does agree, saying they should be wise with their financial decisions. Maybe go home, watch some Jim Cramer. You're good to go. Maybe buy some crypto. It's perfect.
This is the first scene where Sam is just so annoying to the rest of the band. They're like, Tonic, why are you lame now? All your time, I want to go home and sleep and not drink and never kiss.
That would be a really rapid departure from this guy who has a whole reputation that follows him as a partier or a womanizer, and then suddenly first of all, he doesn't really play the songs at the end. They're like, you were bad tonight, Tonic. And then in the limo, he's like, we should invest our money. Get this girl away from me.
I love spreadsheets.
It's like if in the Aerosmith limo, one day Steven Tyler was like, guys, I'm going to be cool and normal now.
I'm not going to inject cocaine into my eyeballs. Flash says that they've got more money than the ancient king of Lydia, Croesus.
This is the sort of stuff Flash says.
He says a lot of stuff.
Which is why I like him.
And of course, Croesus famously gave lavish gifts until his fall to the dastardly Persian Empire in 546 BCE. So it's a very relevant comment.
Well, the whole empire was into King Thunder.
Oh, and by the way, Flash does say that King Thunder is going to be so big, they're going to make the Beatles look like ants.
And this is how Tonic starts to ingratiate himself with the band again. He starts making bug-related Beatles jokes.
Well, yeah, he says something that confuses everyone else, so he makes up for it by saying, what I meant was no one will remember the Beatles, and instead will be like, the Beatles? You mean an insect infestation? And the band loves it.
Fucking lose it. It's like an Everybody Loves Raymond studio audience in this limo.
Back in Sam's room, he's watching a news report about the band when there's a knock on the door.
That's how popular they are, by the way. They are everywhere.
When he asks who it is, we hear a voice say, room service. But when he opens the door, it's not room service. It's horny women.
This has never happened to me.
Really?
Not even after playing music for people.
Well, that's weird.
No, I usually play to about 4 or 5 people.
And you don't have any makeup on.
No.
That's the problem.
Well, we need to fix that.
When you get Dwayne in here to put makeup on us. The 3 girls that run in overpower Sam and jump on top of him on the bed. They try to do some sexy 70s banging. But by now, Al has arrived, and he's busily ogling the girls as they try to take their tops off. But Sam is having none of it. He says, no, girls, we mustn't do that. Eventually, he picks 2 of them up at once and throws them outside of his room, all while Al is protesting because Al is ready to be nothing but a voyeur.
I was going to say, do you think Al wants to watch him fuck?
You think he's jerking off in the corner?
Look, I mean, Bacula's looking pretty good. There's like 8 women in here. Nobody can see me.
Al tells Sam exactly what it is he's missing.
Sam, what are you doing? You're throwing away a perfectly good fan sandwich. Oh, Sam.
Al gets it, man. He knows what's what.
The commitment to the role, Dean Stockwell.
He gives it all. Al calls Sam pathetic, and then Sam questions everything, saying, I'm pathetic because I won't take advantage of those young women. This is degrading for them. And I really don't like that high and mighty shit.
No, that's not very nice.
They're adults. They can make their own decisions. Who cares that they're having sex when they want? It's no big deal.
Why is it so hard for him to imagine that a woman might want to have sex with Scott Bakula?
Exactly.
I'm sure lots did and still do.
Al continues berating Sam, saying it boggles the mind how lame he is. But Sam retorts with, yeah, well, I'm going to boggle you.
Thought that was funny because it's stupid.
You know what I mean? So he's going to shake that thing and go,
Yeah,
yeah.
Look for words in him.
Like 3-letter words.
He gets 3 minutes or whatever.
I found you. Finally, Sam asks what the situation with this leap is. Why am I here? Al goes over the details, and Sam says he's never heard of the band King Thunder until this moment. Al gets another good dig in here, and he says, of course you never heard him. You were a total fucking nerd-ass bitch in this time. And that kind of touches on the fact I said earlier that, you know, he can only leap into people who are alive during his lifetime. That was kind of a thing that the show creators put in to limit some of the stories and make it a little cheaper.
Control set costs.
Yeah, exactly.
Because that does seem like an arbitrary time travel rule.
We're only dealing with the Bakula era, so to speak.
Al reveals that they are likely here to fix the fact that 2 nights from then, after a performance, Tonic was stabbed by a lunatic while climbing out of his limousine and killed. The problem is the killer was never found, as the person who did it promptly dissipated in the crowd. So this sets up a kind of mystery of the week that Quantum Leap tends to do. It'll give you a couple of suspects if there's a murder coming up, and they just have to sort through it and figure it out.
Like Matlock.
Just like Matlock. So basically, it's up to Al and Sam to figure out the killer, put a stop to Tonic's death. Al says it's probably a lunatic like that Mark David Chapman, who, of course, he has to explain to Sam is the guy who killed John Lennon. Sam reveals that he did see someone who could be that suspect. Brings up that kid earlier with the slow motion stuff.
Look how he immediately was like, oh yeah,
I just saw this guy at the other side of the room. He looked like a killer.
Yeah, I mean,
slow motion and
this
everything.
is a total creepazoid.
He describes him as blonde, young, wearing an army jacket, and, quote, kind of a haunted expression.
Likes to chew on an apple.
Al pokes at Ziggy a bit and says no one fits that bill, so it has to be a complete stranger. Sam says that's dumb, but it is possible this person could have processed schizophrenia, because Sam has PhDs and all that.
We might want to speak a little more carefully before saying whatever this is.
Well, he goes on to explain that most schizophrenics aren't violent, but in the case of processed schizophrenia, they don't develop their own sense of identity quickly enough. So therefore, they fill in the blanks with something they see, much like that kid who shot Reagan, which Sam says, oh yeah, John Hinckley Jr.
Reagan, who probably sponsored this very thing.
Yes, the media makes people... What was I saying? Nancy, bring me my jelly beans.
And of course, I recently brought up Hinckley kind of when we covered True Detective, because of course the whole reason he tried to kill Reagan was to seem cool for Jodie Foster.
Mm-hmm. It all comes full circle.
Do you think it worked? Do you think Jodie Foster was like, man, that guy's so cool. He almost killed Reagan for me.
I bet you in private she does say that to people.
Well, it turns out the real way to fuck Jodie Foster is to move to Alaska and be a male. That's all it takes.
Well, there's only like a few people there.
Sam tells Al to stick close to him because I don't want to lose this potential killer kid if I see him again. And there's a bunch of heavily effects-laden guitar riffs here. We find out on the street below that the kid they're talking about is busy taking pictures of Sam right now. This telephoto lens like a fucking creep.
So no matter what, not too normal. I like this part where Al's like, you're not going to believe this, Sam. I found out that some killers are loners.
The next day, the band is busy signing autographs at some big mall where the radio station WFGF is busy interviewing them via Elliot Chase, who's back on the case.
This is one of those fake band scenes that I could just eat.
Oh, yeah.
I love it. I love all the fake stuff being said and how this radio guy has to act like this is like
a
high
big
art.
deal.
Yeah.
Well, I would also like to point out that WFGF has got the beat and they got the heat, too. Elliot Chase gets down to business. He says to Sam, all right, Tonic, your last album, 5 All Night, of course, one of our favorites. It was heavy, man.
And he gets a real serious look.
He goes on to say that the top track from that album, which is, of course, Fate's Wide
By
Wheel,
far.
the best one. It was so deep that Elliot Chase just wants to know, how did you manage to write this song, Tonic? And Sam makes a bit of a shitty joke saying, with a pen, and everybody just eats it up again. And then everyone says, look, Tonic doesn't have a brain. And then they josh each other for a bit. It's funny, it's cute, they're ribbing, they're a fun band. Eventually, Elliot Chase says, ha 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 ha. Well, let me be serious for a moment. And then he asks Sam, What were you thinking when you wrote the following deep as shit lyrics?
Yeah, who could possibly have written this?
For the hit song Fate's Wide Wheel, he says, "As I travel in space and time, I want to stay, I want to go. You can see my face, but it's not mine. What you can't see, you'll never know." And then he asks again, "What can't we see, Tonic of King Thunder? What can't we see?"
Robert Frost.
Like, this would be the band you would analyze the lyrics like that and be like, oh, the meaning is so deep.
Gene Simmons, what did you mean when you wrote, lick it up, whoa, whoa, whoa?
Did you really want to rock and roll all night?
Did you just mean that figuratively, like until 3 or 4?
Sam stammers for a moment, but then he says, well, what I was meaning to say is we all live our lives behind masks, but the real point of living is to get beyond and break through those masks from the outside and the inside so that we can all communicate. Unfortunately, though, most of us can't break through.
A lot of slow clapping. A couple people say, so true, so true.
Everyone's just blown the fuck away. Then a woman comes up and takes her top off and asks Sam to sign her boobies.
He doesn't like that.
No, he averts his eyes.
He set that up too. He's like, do you have something for me to sign? Oh, she did.
He's a baby. Look at them boobies.
2 things for me to sign.
You don't seem to be holding anything. It must be on you.
Sam can't enjoy the breasts, so he stands up. And then he sees that creeper kid from earlier with the camera. True to form, we get again, weird dramatic soundtrack, slow motion, all that stuff. The kid rushes off. Al's on the case, though.
Because this is the case of the week formula, we know it's not this kid. He was the first suspect introduced.
Sure. Al disappears, rushing off after the kid. He says, I got it. He's gonna follow him and get him. Elliot Chase continues asking questions, and we get one more plot detail, and that comes in the form of Flash McGraw saying, 2 nights from now, we're going to be performing new songs that I wrote. Of course, Tonic, he's going to do a great job performing them, and this kind of lets us know that there's been history here.
Yeah, he doesn't want to be Garfunkeled.
I know what they're trying to do. They're trying to set up a plausible other killer, but that's really weak material. Be like, hey, he didn't get his songs performed. You fucking stabbed him after the show. Just murdered his bandmate because like, you didn't play my songs.
I wonder if that's why they were like, we better add the other element that they had.
Which again was just like
which
one
again,
scene.
It's like, so this is murder worthy?
I mean, Flash is crazy, but he's not that crazy.
No, he's more awesome than anything else.
Well, then we get an establishment shot of like 1930s New York. Bunch of ruffians are playing street baseball and there's cars driving around. And then it's over and that's it.
That was a really jarring scene.
We're then zapped into a dingy apartment with Al as the creeper kid enters while singing the lyrics to Fate's Wide Wheel.
Yeah, he can't get enough of this shit. And Al, meanwhile, I guess thinks there's just no law when it comes to these quantum crimes. He's snooping and
it reminded me
privacy.
of what the angels do in Touched by an Angel, where
That's
they're watching him unseen.
And having conversations.
Sam's doing what he can to get information on the kid, and he struggles a bit before looking skyward to say, give me a break. I don't know how these private eyes do it. He needs to get with Columbo. He was on Columbo. He should have learned. And then the kid throws his wallet across the room and onto his dresser, which, by the way, also has a copy of King Thunder's self-titled album, King Thunder 3, on it. So Al gives a nice little heartfelt thank you skyward.
Why is the wallet toss in slow motion?
Got to really hammer home that this kid throws wallets.
Why does he throw wallets? He could have just put it down beside him, I'm assuming.
I don't know. He already laid down on the bed. He's like, I'm not getting up for this. And flings it.
That's his thing. Like, that's how he unwinds when he gets home. He's like, I'm going to throw my wallet now.
Hey, man, that's just Fate's Wide Wheel. That wallet's going where it goes.
But then also, we see the license or whatever it is, and it's just a bunch of text. There's no pictures.
Someone just on a typewriter printed that up.
Mm-hmm.
Printed that up. I don't even know how to talk about this era's technology.
I really like that, though, the typewriter getting plugged into a printer right beside it.
To print.
Type it up, and then you print it again.
Someone's tried that.
Al reads the name Philip Silbart off of some weird ID list in his wallet, as well as the fact that he was from Nebraska. So, okay, we know who this kid is. He can poke at Ziggy and figure it out. Now, occasionally this show does have Sam narrate things, Magnum P.I. style, and this is one of those moments. He's busy strumming away on his double guitar, and the voiceover explains that learning chord structures and like an entire catalog of a band's music is easy, but performing them on stage, now that's tough.
Yeah, doing it in real time, man.
Al arrives puffing on his big cigar, and Sam excitedly asks him, what do you have on the kid? Al says, I've been running scenarios through Ziggy, And then he gives Sam everything he has on Philip Silbart so far.
You found out his name. What else have you got?
Of course I well, he was born in Hastings, Nebraska. He was raised by his mother, Priscilla, and the poor kid's illegitimate. Anyway.
Yeah, the line reads funny.
The brazenness of... anyway.
Oh, the poor kid's illegitimate. Also illegitimate. Who says that? Whoever said that?
Al. That's what they say in the future, Brian. Al continues saying his mother died. The kid's mother died, not Al's mother. I don't know about his mom.
By the way, if they're saying that in the future, that is a really bad sign for this upcoming election. I think I know what happens, and it's scary.
Well, apparently Philip has been running away from foster homes since his mother died, and his social worker says that he's emotionally disturbed. Just then, the hairiest member of the band arrives. He's wearing a Jimi Hendrix tie-dye shirt, tucked into his jeans, with suspenders attached, and I think his name is Chase.
He has a goatee also, which is strange.
Doesn't fit the era, but like a Bob Ross haircut. It's very poofy. Chase tells Sam that, hey, you got a phone call from a Utah bank guy. That's exactly what he said, who said that your check bounced. So if you want the ranch, you better send me a new check because you can't do your escrow.
You obviously don't know anything about real estate, or it would have made sense to you.
I made a 40% increase on my crypto purchase, Brian.
From watching Jim Cramer.
Sam doesn't have much time to worry about all this because it is time to do the sound check. Al psychs Sam up for it for a bit, and then Sam very lightly sings the lyrics to Rock the Redhead.
And everyone musically plays this as light as they can. This is so weird.
It's hard to look at almost.
Yeah.
The rest of the band, they've just got perplexed faces watching Sam be like, Rock the Redhead.
Like he's doing all his guitar parts perfectly somehow, but at a very muted volume.
But before they finish the song, before they can ask why the fuck their bandmate is singing like an idiot, a light fixture from the roof comes violently crashing down, nearly crushes Sam, and also goes right through Al, because hologram. Everyone rushes over to Sam, and he says he's fine, but he did bang his head a little. He then asks where Philip is, to Al, of course, who no one can see. Al looks it up, and everyone else goes, Philip? Maybe he did hit his head. Al says no, it couldn't have been Philip. He's still back at his apartment, rocking out to Fate's Wide Wheel. By now, Dwayne, the band manager, has rushed over. He's checking in on Sam. Dwayne asks, how the hell did this happen? Whitler, the chubby security guy, goes, oh, I don't know. Something must have come loose or whatever.
I'm just going to put my leather Judas Priest cap back on.
Dwayne tells that security guy to get the thing back up there, find out who screwed this up, made this possible. And everybody, you've got a big night coming up. This is your concert. Go ahead and head back to the hotel, get some rest. We'll take care of the rest here. As they're leaving, Sam and Al discuss what just happened and surmise that it definitely wasn't Philip who set this trap. It's too elaborate, so who else here could be a suspect? Sam posits that it could have been Whitler, the security guard.
Why?
Al discovers via Ziggy, I'll tell you why, that before becoming the fat head of band security, Whitler rode with a biker gang. He did 2 years in the pen for armed robbery and says he knew a couple of guys named Breezer and Max.
Whoa, okay, now I get it.
He was also almost arrested for attempted manslaughter, but wasn't convicted. I don't know what that means.
This guy's had a lot of close scrapes with horrible things.
Sam continues and says it's possible that Whitler works for Flash McGrath, of course. Perhaps they're in cahoots.
Because, as he points out, Flash is the heir to the King Thunder or something.
He'd become the leader of the band.
What are they talking about? Like it works that way, like you now get something for that?
Well, they voted in the 70s. Jimmy Carter put out a vote to say, what's the succession
line of King Thunder?
And while they're talking about this, by the way, the two just kind of stare at Whitler's big, filled-out pants, and then the scene fades. A little later, Sam arrives at Dwayne's office and brings up the fact that his ranch check bounced. He wants to know, why don't I have any money in the bank? And Dwayne says, Tonic, chill your little bones. Of course the check bounced. I know it bounced. I didn't put money in your account because I'm very clearly stealing from you. But my tone suggests this isn't a big deal, so don't worry about it. Sam does play dumb here, and he says, okay, everything's fine, and he leaves the office to prep for the show.
At this point, we kind of know Sam knows better, but there is the chance that he just thinks, I don't know, maybe Dwayne's been watching Jim Cramer. He's investing this money.
Finally, it is time for that concert, and we're at the Bursing Arena with 90,000 of the biggest King Thunder fans in the world. But just before it's time to come out, Sam laments to Al that, I can't do this. After all, I'm not a rocker. I don't sing like those people. They're going to kill me. He says when he was growing up, he was listening to Simon and Garfunkel, so I just don't know how to perform like they want. Al tells him, you can do this. Act like a fucking idiot. They'll love it. That's legitimately his advice.
It's pretty funny.
And the scene is strictly a waste of time.
What
to be a
about the
funny
part
moment.
where they do an Abbott and Costello the Who routine?
Yeah, there's two things that happen. First, there's the Who's on First bit where it's about the Who and Pete Townsend. Whatever, it's fine. But then more importantly, second, Al says, just like Pete Townsend, do the windmill thing with the guitar, and then he does the wow now noise with his mouth. And after he does that, Sam tries it and also goes wow now with his mouth as Al is talking to him.
You have to do that.
I appreciated it.
You have to do that part or it doesn't work.
The band is then announced, and we hear a rockin' beat start. Al comes out on stage doing a bunch of air guitar. He's there. Nobody can see him.
He has a lot of stage presence. He does a lot of gyrating with his cigar, does some air guitar stuff.
He's got Ziggy out there like he's fretting it.
Yeah.
Pretty good. The rest of the band is in full swing. Sam comes running out with his big double guitar while flinching at the pyrotechnics like a dork. But he does hit his cue, and he belts out the lyrics to Rock the Redhead, which point out that apparently the redhead is 6'4" and barely fit through the door.
Yeah.
Was this song about me? Was I a redhead in a previous time?
Well, you're a mountain Tonic wants to climb, apparently.
Guys, rock the redhead all night. Rock the redhead so right. Rock the redhead tonight. Baby, take me higher. Baby, take me through the night.
You can see why Flasher wants this thing played.
I love that they did write these songs.
Yeah.
It's
This is
kind
what
of
I'm
impressive.
saying. There's enough dedication. They only did the choruses and stuff, but they're giving names to them. They're building a little dumb world, and it's a lot of fun because we've talked about it a lot. These writers can't ever get it right. All the stuff's mixed up, and that makes it more fun.
I will say, with the exception to Fate's Wide Wheel, which they have an entire song of, and I have it, and I'll play it at the end of this episode. It's kind of amazing.
I actually didn't realize Rock the Redhead was one of Flash's songs. So that's one of the ones he was like, if you don't get this,
Yeah,
down,
he's passionate about it.
I will kill you.
This
if
is
you
my
don't.
fucking, this comes from my heart, and I need
Magnus
to play
opus.
this.
I
Yeah.
don't think so. I disagree because I don't believe he plays any of Flash's songs at all.
I thought, okay, I wasn't sure.
Because the indication
Oh.
later is Flash is like, are you going to do it? And he says no at the next concert.
I thought that was the first one.
I thought they were implying they're rehearsing it now, and it's Flash's song, but that very well could be.
I think this is just one of their
The
hits.
moment at the end where he chooses to play Flash's song instead of following Al's advice is supposed to be a big thing. So I bet that's right.
We could just kind of have to look through King Thunder's back catalog.
Let me get on Discogs.
Then the rest of it is just a bunch of these guys bouncing around on stage. And honestly, the best part continues to be Al air guitaring his way around.
Having a good time.
After the concert, back at Sam's hotel room, there's a raging party.
What music should you put on for this after party?
Probably the exact same thing you just
You
played.
play the Rock the Redhead over and over?
Sam is not thrilled about the party, though. Flash and another bandmate, who I think is named Axe, offer him a vodka tonic, and then they giggle a bunch because, of course, that's his name. So, it's
What he's
funny.
known for.
And then Flash's enormous haired girlfriend, Sandy, keeps trying to get in Sam's pants.
Really obviously, too. There's no subtlety to it of any kind.
Right in front of Flash. He's
Mhm.
right there. He's watching.
She just wants him that bad.
She knows. There's a little Scott Dracula in there. Flash does see all this, and Al tells Sam, look, it's not cool to swim in another man's swimming pool. So Sam goes,
Ew.
no, I'm not swimming in another man's swimming pool. He tries to push Sandy off of him, but she pushes and pushes before finally she moves on, but does hint, I'm going after you later.
You're never safe.
She won't let it go.
We flash to 5 a.m. That's confusing because the guy's name is Flash. Yeah, that's what I did.
Oh, I
there.
like it, though.
Didn't
And
think
they
about
and
it.
they have an album called 5 a.m. Learning or something. Whatever. Wait, wide awake at 5.
5 before then.
5 alarm something.
That's my favorite kind of salsa. It's 5 a.m. at the party, though. It's still going strong. Al gives Sam a bunch of updates on percentages and math stuff thanks to Ziggy. He says there's a 60% chance Dwayne is embezzling funds, and I personally think that's a low estimate. It's
Yeah.
got to be like 90%. Come on.
Already with no data, I'm at 97.
Al also says that basically this whole who's going to kill me thing is in a 3-way tie. We've got Dwayne, who's likely stealing from them. Flash McGraw, who wants his songs to be sang and wants to be the leader of the band. And then, of course, Philip, the crazy stalker kid with the camera. Sam asks where Philip is, and Al tells Gushy to teleport him to where the kid is, but for some reason, he returns right back to the same spot. Al realizes that this means Philip is here, but also Ziggy says there's a 50% chance Sam is getting shanked right here at the party. It's crazy.
Oh, no.
Sam then looks over and immediately sees Philip. Just right there.
No. And he's just hanging out.
Slow motion view, too. Sam and Whitler grab the kid, and Whitler says something mean about how he probably got in when Eddie was watching the door. I guess we don't like Eddie.
This is a detail I liked because this is one employee passing the buck on another, being like, it's probably Eddie's fault. I was paying attention.
One poorly paid guy trying to still keep his poorly paid job.
Yeah, it's funny. It's a nice, little character moment for what's his name?
Whitler, because he whittles. Anyway, the big man finds a scarf in Philip's pocket as well as a pocket knife. Sam says, look, I don't want to hurt you, kid, but also I don't want to get hurt myself. Philip looks at Sam and says, I don't want to hurt you. You're my father.
Whoa, and that's the end of Empire Strikes Back.
Cuts off Philip's hand right there. Returning from the commercial break, because that's a perfect spot to break, Flash tells Sam, next time, you better check your raincoat, sport, because it's a condom.
Oh, yeah.
Jimmy hat. You guys ever call a condom a Jimmy hat?
Nope.
No, James hat, though, I think is the proper term.
Oh, that's if you don't know him.
Yeah, the formal version.
Sam takes his kid out in the balcony, and Philip tells him his mom told him Tonic was his father one day and said they had hooked up after a concert in Omaha 16 years ago. Al, standing here, confirms the band did have a concert in Omaha 16 years ago. The only difference is the band at the time was called The Dingles.
I like that detail as well. Because that part is accurate to the era of almost boy bands of the time being called the Dingles, and they reinvent themselves once they actually learn how to play music. They're like, wait, we could just be a real band now.
Sam tells the kid, look, it's possible I might be your dad, but it's not likely. And the kid's response to this is, I sound like you and I can play guitar like you, so you're my dad.
But that's not all.
Well, Sam protests some more, but Philip tells him that's not all. I have this weird web of skin in between my fingers, just like you.
And this has never come up. It's never been mentioned.
No.
Sam's never been like, oh, I don't usually have a webbed finger. But now you'd feel like all this guitar playing, that would be...
You would feel it.
Yeah.
But then again, maybe he doesn't feel. Maybe he feels himself in their body. I don't know.
There's a little bit, too, of when he first has to argue against Philip's evidence, where he's like, I sound like you and sing like you. He does a little bit of Sean from 90 Day Fiancé, where it's like, lots of people sound like other people.
Yeah.
And they can sing like, people have similar voices, is his response to that.
I literally almost wrote that same thing about 90 Day Fiancé. I'm so glad you said that.
This scene proves exactly how strong the male instinct is, that Bakula is not even the person whose body he's in.
Yeah, and he's like,
I
no,
didn't do it. It's not my son.
No chance.
I'm not dealing with this kid. I'm running away.
My dick is dry. Sam holds out his hand under the table or something so he can see the reflection, because again, he would see his own hand unless it's through a reflection, and he sees that weird web of skin. Philip says, hey, I don't want your money or anything. I just want you to admit that you're my father. And the scene fades.
He wants him to call himself daddy.
Through more voiceover, Sam reveals that Ziggy says even with the webbed finger thing, only 50% chance he's Philip's father.
I'm sorry,
No
it is
chance.
100%.
Yeah. If you share that weird genetic trait, that you're related to that person. Supposedly, there's a girl that I went to high school with that did have webbed toes, but I've never really known that to actually exist in real life.
Whim's real good.
And I couldn't know that.
But Ziggy does also say that there's a 99% chance Sam's still getting shanked that night after the concert. We're at the concert hall now, where the band is getting ready, and Flash calls out a particularly stupid wig being worn by that Chase guy, the hairy band member.
This wig looks better to me.
It's like a mohawk wig. It's more punk.
It's green, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was awesome.
I did too. I was like, this looks better than the one that just makes you look like you're in Cats.
Flash asks, what's up with that wig? And Chase says, someone make me bloody wig.
And I'm sure that's just a throwaway point. It's not trying to set anything up at the end at all.
No, not at all. It's not Chekhov's wig here at all.
This is like a Jenga tower of a plot.
He does say that this weird mohawk one is the only one he could find. So he's like, okay, I guess he stumbled across a wig and said, this'll do. Flash menacingly says to Tonic, tonight we're playing my songs,
or
right?
I'll stab you.
And Sam goes, yeah, sure, we'll play the songs. So then Flash is a bit surprised. He goes, oh, all right, well, let's go play our music then. Like, he's delighted. It's kind of cute.
Well, that's all I've wanted this whole time. Now we can be best buds again, like in the early days.
Unless you fuck my girlfriend and then I'm going to kill you again.
Perhaps we can rock the redhead together.
bands do things like that in this era, I believe it's going to be considered a bit of a problem later.
You almost went into the Michael Caine thing. I thought you were going to have Michael Caine say rock the redhead.
On that day, we will rock that redhead.
We will not go gently into that night.
Josh
We will rock
Four.
the redhead together.
That was a little Connery there.
That's now he would be all for this.
Oh, he would rock
I
the
bet
redhead.
he did that.
I will rock any redhead that comes within my path when I'm on my way to being the Avengers or the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Perhaps I'll call it a fire crotch, because I'm mean.
I'm a horrible dead man.
Before Sam can get out of the room, though, Al tells him he should just bail out of this. He says, just leave. I mean, that way you'll be
I didn't know
safe.
this was an option from the start. I don't know why
Evidently.
he's doing any of this.
Well, except Sam says, no, I have to figure out who's trying to kill Tonic. If we don't solve it now, maybe he'd come back.
He just wanted to play the concert. I guarantee you, he was just like, I can do this.
He's finally gotten good at it.
Yeah, he's put all that work.
But before Al can protest, Dwayne shows up, and Sam pulls him into the room and immediately accuses him of stealing all their money, losing it on the stock market. Dwayne protests, but finally relents and says, I'll get your money back. I just need more time.
Dwayne doesn't protest very long because as Bakula provides the facts, Dwayne's kind of like, well, I mean...
I'm boned. Might as well own up to it.
I mean, yes. As has been basically forecasted, I am an obvious thief.
And the second that Dwayne admits it, Al gets really excited and goes, ha, I told you he did it. He's the killer.
Which Al does every time a new suspect crops up. I like that. I like that Al, who we find some interesting details about his intellectual capabilities next episode that I would not have guessed, but he surmises the wrong thing every chance he gets.
Mm-hmm. He's just excited to be there, Brian. Dwayne tells him, Tonic, look, you can have all your money now, but you got to give me a chance to get the rest back. Al's waving at Sam saying, no, don't do it. He's your killer. Don't do it. But then Sam pauses for a moment, says, okay, deal. But tonight I want to take a different escape route from the concert, and I don't want to be in a limo with Flash. So you can see that Sam thinks, okay, well, I did this to Dwayne. If he was the killer, he probably would have came at me. Since he's okay, he's probably not the killer.
Yeah.
It must be Flash.
And then alternately, if it's Denny or what's this kid's name?
Philip.
If it's Philip, then changing the exit might deter him.
Yeah, he's covered all his bases. Now you got to play the concert, though.
Dwayne says, oh, okay, of course, that's fine. And he thanks Sam before they then head out to the concert. But once again, Sam can't get out the door. This time he's cut off by Sandy, Flash's girlfriend with the giant hair. She tries to jump on top of him. She doesn't even try. She succeeds to jump on top of him. Oh, and at one point, by the way, while she's climbing on him, Al takes a nice hard look at Sandy's ass. And I mean, he's a few inches away, like bending over, staring at it. Get it, Al.
I like Al, but Al is a pervert.
Oh,
we
yeah.
should definitely say that clearly.
All the scenes where Al does that, Scott Bakula is always like, stop it, Al.
Al, just because you're invisible, you can't go being like Kevin Bacon.
He never approves. Oh, and in Hollow Man,
Yeah.
he never approves of it, which is a good touch for
Hollow
Scott
Man.
Bakula's
I
character.
hadn't thought about that until just now because I was trying to think of an invisible creep.
That is,
And you brought up Hollow Man. That's what you went with.
that's not a good movie.
Movie sucks.
It's not good.
Isn't there a scene where he's like taking off the bandages and he's invisible underneath, so then the bandages fall away?
I think so, and then it's supposed to be real scary.
And then he dances because dancing's illegal.
I think you're thinking of Dirty Dancing.
Oh, that's it. With Sandy here standing above Sam on the chair and kissing him, Flash enters the room and screams at his girlfriend. He rips her off Sam, shoves a finger in his face, saying, "You are a dead man," before storming off. So more credence that Flash, he's a killer, bad guy.
But not over the next hour or two because, I mean, they've got
They get a rock.
Kill him after the show.
Alvin says, "I got it. Flash is the killer. Definitely a killer. I always knew." Then he goes, wait a second. I guess it could still be Dwayne or maybe Philip. So he's just waffling, but he's confident about it. We see the crowd of adoring fans now in the Bellhurst Arena or whatever. The band has taken the stage, and with some calming dark blue lights surrounding him, Sam as Tonic is jamming out on the synthesizer and performing the song we've wanted to hear all night. It's Fate's Wide Wheel. Let's take a listen.
Watch him fall.
Oh, well, shit. Sorry, guys. Messed it up again.
It's not that different.
It's the same thing. And you'll hear Fate's Wide Wheel at the end of this episode. Again, I promise it will be there.
And if not, you don't care. We're aware.
Does Fate have one wheel?
It's really wide, though.
They would need four. Okay, imagine a car with one wheel.
This wheel is thick.
So it's like four wheels in one.
Yeah.
Huh.
It's that toilet paper you buy that says it's 20 rolls of toilet paper in one, but it's just a roll.
They can just say whatever they want.
I don't know.
How are we going to prove it? It's like there's so many more toilet papers than you're paying for in
That's
this.
what I like about products that are like by the ounce or something. I do know what's in there.
I'm confused because you guys don't do this. Every time I buy toilet paper, there's one roll you have to take apart to count all the plies.
You cut
You
it
don't do
open.
that? See, I'm the weird one. I do want to point out that Fate's Wide Wheel does have the line, "The me I am is all that's real to me." Deep.
Boy, that song seems boring.
Another one of Tonic's lyrical masterpieces.
That's right. And it is boring, Brian. It doesn't
do
change.
anything.
No, never picks up steam. Al is still here playing air guitar on stage.
Least
so,
boring
great.
part.
The band then moves on to their closer song. I mean, we've had their whole concert. We've probably heard the Redhead song. We've heard Fate's Wide Wheel. They decide to play the song Hot Spot, which goes like this. Hot Spot, she knows how to use it. Hot Spot, well, yeah. Hot Spot, I can't confuse it. Baby, won't you turn up the heat? I got a hot spot.
And this is Flash's. Because right before this song, the two turn to each other and Flash says, "Are you going to play my song?" And Al's like, "No, we got to get out of here. Fuck this guy." And Scott Bakula says, "No, I will honor Flash and play his art, Hot Spot."
What a terrible closing song Hot Spot is.
It's also 25 seconds long.
That would really disappoint the audience. Like, don't worry, we got an encore for you. It's like 10 seconds.
Yeah, all right, go home.
We're performing new material tonight. It's a big deal. Hot spot, blah, blah, blah. Done.
We're doing a song that will make the Minutemen look like they're Charles Dickens and can't shut up.
The band is now moving backstage, and when they come to a turn, they go left. But Sam says, no, we're supposed to go the other way. We're supposed to go straight. I arranged for a different route. But everyone pushes him and says, no, just keep moving.
He's in the flow of the crowd. He can't get out.
Seems like Dwayne did not set up an alternate route like he said he would. Some double doors open, and they make it outside where Sam catches sight of Philip, who again is presumably still potentially the killer. I mean, I wouldn't think so, but
he's so
I guess.
good at lurking, you can't discount
True.
him.
Philip reaches towards his shoulder pocket, which just so happens to be the pocket in which Whittler found the knife at the party. But we also see a torso of what appears to be the Cookie Monster whip out a switchblade knife. Now, before the Sesame Street character can plunge the knife deep into Scott Dracula's body, Philip points and screams, "Dad!" because it's slow motion. Anything Philip does, slow motion.
It's in his writer for the show.
Well, he points towards the dangerous Muppet with the knife. So Sam looks over, but he doesn't see the Cookie Monster. No, where the camera's back. Instead, we see a face painted up like that of the band, wearing a huge, stringy Cookie Monster jacket, and he's knifing at him. Well, Sam does a move, like a twist, and he grabs the assailant's hand, knocks the knife free, while Whittler then snatches the man holding him in place. And Whittler's a big boy. You can't get out of that grasp. Philip rushes over to Sam, and he says, "Dad?" A whole bunch more. And then Sam rips the wig off the man, revealing the face of Dwayne.
You can tell it's Dwayne even with the paint because Dwayne looks like a Muppet. You pretty much said it, Van. He just has a little cherubic face. You know it's Dwayne.
Well, it did.
This is not the face of a stabber.
It did take Van a few moments to realize who this was because of the face paint. I just and then okay, it's Dwayne.
I was like, who's this soft man?
That is the most believable killer of the three. The others had no real motive at all.
I agree that he actually should be the killer.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, considering he got caught in his scheme, I would agree he should kill Tonic, too, to get away with it.
Well, my favorite part about this is from here on out, Flash is delightful.
Oh, yeah.
As we'll cover. He
just wanted Hot Spot played.
I think they made up over the course of this, over the show. You know,
okay.
I think he's already forgiven him for the Cindy thing, too.
You think maybe one of the other touched the other's hot spot and everything's fine?
Be.
Well, I mean, and the girlfriend was almost certainly put up to it by by Dwayne.
Yeah, that's true.
Ooh, adding some intrigue here.
Yeah.
Presumably, Dwayne was trying to kill Tonic before the show even started, and he figured out that's when the light fell on his head, right?
Yeah.
That was Dwayne, even though he didn't know that he was stealing at that time. Dwayne just wanted him dead.
Dwayne then says some stuff like, "You just couldn't wait for your money, could you?" And Sam says, "Well, you couldn't wait," which I guess got him good.
Oh, yeah. Dwayne does all of this argument that is a very, I think, in our 2020s hustle and grind, be a tech entrepreneur mindset of like, now you guys may have all the creative talent, write it all, perform it all, buy all the equipment, but I thought of the marketing plan, so I deserve everything, right?
Yeah, he basically says, I thought of the makeup. I put you guys together. Maybe I introduced you, so therefore I deserve all of the money.
They go on a self-righteous rant after you get caught trying to kill someone. There's a real likely response.
Not a great
there.
idea. Strangely done a lot with people who've just killed or tried to kill someone.
I guess they figure that's their last chance to be heard. Like, well, yeah, I did that.
I'll just say I was right.
But here's why, and I think you'll agree that I was on the right track.
Well,
here.
this is surprising. No one seems to be taking my side on my murders.
Well, after the "you couldn't wait" retort by Sam, one of the other dumb band members shows up and goes, "Wait, what's about our money?"
And they are all dumb.
Yes. Sam reveals the cash issues to him, of course, and bandmate gets mad. Dwayne does his little speech. He basically says, it's the greedy ad executives. They took everything. I mean, I had 3 gold records, but no gold in the bank, man. Oh, shit, I'm on the wrong episode again. Dwayne does say a bunch more villain stuff. Everybody gets mad and tries to jump him, and then they're all pulled apart. Later, after everything has died down, the band is back at the dressing room, and that Harry member comes in, and again, I think his name is Chance. He talks about killing Dwayne, necromancying him back, and then killing him again because of what they did with the money.
Pretty cool. Is there an episode where they do that?
I hope so. Maybe it's the next one. Hearing this, one of the other real dumb band members, this one with tight golden pants, says, well, what's the big deal about money? We'll just make some more. After
That's so cheerful.
We've got the one and only Tonic here with us. We'll make more money.
Our friend's okay. I do like his attitude about that. Why are we so worried about the cash when our friend's okay?
The band does mention that Sam was lucky, and Sam responds by saying, actually, it was my illegitimate son, Philip, that saved me.
It was this little actual bastard here.
He yelled, and that's what helped me out. And then Philip comes over, and Sam goes, but Philip, what the gosh darn heck were you reaching for in your shoulder pocket? Philip reaches into the pocket. He pulls out the dorkiest photo of the real Tonic that possibly exists. He's holding a guitar, wearing a bow tie, and being held by a pretty lady.
I love this detail because this is what they dressed like as the Dingles.
Yeah, exactly. That would be when they were the Dingles. They were not King Thunder.
They weren't even Prince Thunder or Duke Thunder.
And then obviously this is Philip's mother, by the way. And the boy says that this picture was taken right after the band's first concert. But Flash McBanger, or whatever his name is, says, not bloody likely. He says after that first concert, Tonic was so sick from drinking too many, get this, vodka tonics on stage that he went straight to the hospital to have his stomach pumped.
Oh, God. Here we thought it might be a lighthearted nickname.
Nope.
This Tonic.
Almost died. That's why they call him Tonic.
And Bacula, again, even though he is not actually Tonic, you can tell he's like, yeah, see, not my son.
This does at least answer a question that none of us had, so that's good.
Right.
Al does verify all this. He says there's no way Tonic could have banged one out after the concert. Thus, it doesn't seem like Sam is Philip's father. Philip kind of turns away distraught and he sobs a little. But there is one thing Sam, Philip, Al, the band members did not think about, and that's that there are other times.
You can fuck anytime. It's like bagel bites.
In the morning, in the evening, at supper time.
Yeah.
When fucking's on a bagel.
You can come at 5 p.m. It can be done.
Flash takes a look at this picture and goes, oh, I remember her. You guys were backstage before the concert, and she was a bit of all right, if I remember what you're telling me.
Hey, Philip, your mom was rather hot.
Sam looks at Philip and says, you know what? Maybe I am your father.
Finally.
And also, I'd like to mention that the drama of this scene is severely undercut by a couple things. Among them, we've got the sex guitar soundtrack in the background, as well as the second fact, which is that Sam is wearing a golden half shirt with like loops cut out and his midriff out. Hard to take things seriously.
Fatherhood shirt.
It's like a David Lee Roth thing. Sam and Philip embrace, and then Philip says, thank you.
All right, see ya.
And then he just tries to leave.
I just wanted you to fucking admit it.
Now that you've done that, bye.
That's exactly it. Sam's like, why are you leaving? We just figured this out. And Philip says, I told you I don't want any money. I just wanted to hear you say you're my dad. Besides, what would I do?
Have a relationship with you?
Then a bunch of different band members pipe up and they're like, no, Philip, your hands are great. Everyone's really nice to him. They offer him a job as a roadie, which he smiles and agrees. And then Sam and Philip embrace, and Al says, you know what, in the future, it looks like Philip, since he got this big break, now becomes one of the hottest session musicians in London, which is pretty cool, but a little underwhelming.
That seems about right, though, if you're Philip. Not hot enough to be a stage person.
Sure. But, okay, this is 74 or whatever.
Yeah.
When he's 30-ish, he could be in the 90s doing some grunge.
That's true. He'd have to wait it out. He'd have to get into the game a little bit old with his webbed hand, but he could do it. I really like Al's stupid debriefs at the end of the episode where he's like, everything turned out great for everybody.
Yeah, it just really makes you feel better.
Yeah.
I really feel like Sam as Tonic, after sewing all this stuff up just right, he's kind of probably not wanting to leave Tonic.
No.
He's like, I think I'll just be Tonic
This is
now.
cool. And he should have said that. He should be like, I'm done leaping.
I found my home.
Well, he does lean in to hug Philip again, and fully embracing one another, Sam begins to glow. And then he zaps a bunch. And that's it. Job's finished. He's tranced out. He's quantum leaped out. But like I mentioned earlier, one of I think the most brilliant things that Quantum Leap does as a show is coming up right here. And that's that they give a little teaser for what's coming next week. It makes you want to watch more.
And so these do lead into the next episode.
So
I
this
was
is the
gonna
plot
ask
of the
you
next
that.
episode. Absolutely.
It should. I like that.
And this one, Sam's he's like on a payphone, on a phone call. I thought it was the Wild West, but it can't be that. And someone's yelling at him on the phone saying, Gordon, listen to me, Mr. Shumway. But Sam's there wearing a big brown cowboy hat when he notices that's not always wearing. He's also got a pair of handcuffs on one hand attached to the other end of those cuffs. That's a pretty lady in a pink sweatshirt.
But not in
screaming,
a sex
"Help me."
way.
No, it's like it's a bad way. She says, help me. He's my ex-husband. He's going to kill me. And then a bunch of goons rush up and push him against the wall really hard. And he blurts out that phrase we know and love. Oh, boy. Credits roll. And we've got the performance of Rock the Redhead
And for like
playing
5
again.
minutes. I mean, there are 12 or 13 minutes of filler in each episode of Quantum Leap. And it's just this show, I think, which I'll go ahead and say, even after one, I think it's good-hearted. I think it's pretty pleasant. And I think it's having a lot of fun with itself and with its concepts. This network thing where they demanded a certain amount of time, this show would have worked way better 10 minutes shorter per episode.
Yeah, it needed to be more than the 22 minutes or whatever, but
Yeah.
it didn't need to be 48 or
It
whatever.
would have better existed in a time like now where you
Like
can
how you-
have
yeah, like-
varying length.
And Netflix shows you can stop it whenever you're ready. They would have been like 30 minutes, maybe like 33.
Take however long you need per episode, but 48, never.
Well, I think part of it too was, particularly with the production value they put into it, they had to just kind of cram some stuff in because
Yeah.
it was already too expensive to make. I'm not sure, but that's my guess. But that's it. The
Sell
episode's
more
over.
commercials on an hour-long episode too, which is,
Yep.
they tend to cost more because of that.
Well, I have one little thing before we get out of here, guys, and that is that I did a little real or fake that we tend to do. You guys are going to pair up and determine whether or not these are real or fake 80s hairband songs.
Ooh.
Real songs.
And this is a type of music I don't know anything about.
Yeah, Spencer's a big metalhead, though. Hairband metalhead. So, again, I'm going to read the name of the song, not the band, because I didn't want to make up band names on my songs yet.
And I would be more likely to be able to guess those just from
True.
seeing them. But songs, there's no way.
So you tell me if this is a real 80s hairband song or one I made up. Let's go with Pour Some Sugar on Me.
Well, yes, that's real.
All right, we got real.
That's one we would know.
You agree? Okay, yeah, that is real. That's Def Leppard. So I threw you a little softball there. How about this one? Wild Lady Hurricane.
I'm going to say real on that one too.
Okay, that's fine.
That sounds plausible.
Going real?
We
yeah.
can do that.
That one is fake. I made that one up.
Oh.
Wild Lady Hurricane.
Boy, that sounds real.
How about this one? Heart Freak. That's one word. Heart Freak.
I love that
It's
one.
really stupid, so I bet it's real.
Yeah.
Real? Going
Yeah,
real?
Yeah.
That is fake. I made that
Oh,
one up
that's
as well.
great. I love that. Heart freak.
How about God Bless the Children of the Beast? Is that a real hairband song or not?
I don't see how that's possible.
Sounds more like an Iron Maiden song.
It is real. That is Motley Crue.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a real one.
Children of the Beast.
How about this one? Pleasin' Reason. That's Pleasin apostrophe.
I have
reason.
That's real. That has to
Okay.
be real.
I have no idea.
I
so I'll
don't
go
know
with
either,
you.
but that's so good.
That is fake. I made that one up.
We're doing really bad. We haven't gotten one since Pour Some Sugar on Me.
Yeah. All right. Well, how about Lust Quencher?
I'm going to say fake, but that could be real.
Yeah, we can go fake.
Going fake on that one? That is fake. I made that up.
Yay.
Okay. How about Hot Smell?
No way.
Hot Smell.
Too gross.
I don't think so.
We're going, no, that's fake. I made that one up. Sleazy Niece.
No, there's no way.
You wouldn't talk about your niece that way in the music industry.
So you agree, Spencer?
Yeah,
You think
it's fake.
It's a fake. I made that one up. Mista Bone. That's Mista Bone. Like Mr. Bone, but
Yeah.
said slangily.
Yeah, of course.
Real or fake?
I mean, I think fake.
Okay, that's fine.
That is in fact real.
What?
It is by
Why?
Great White.
Is it? I don't really
I don't know
get
anything
what.
about it.
Were you just reading the back of your mom's cassettes when you were a kid?
Pretty much, yeah. All right. How about All I Want Is Belts? Is that a real or fake one?
I don't know why you would want belts.
All I want is belts.
Who's
It's the
this
80s.
by? Is this by Tan
It
France?
doesn't say it's by anybody.
That was a pretty good joke. But I'm going to say that it's fake. What do you think, Spencer?
Yeah, I think so.
It was a Queer Eye reference. That is fake. I made that one up. Party most nights.
Also fake.
Yeah, fake.
Yeah, it's fake.
I like that one too, though.
All lips and hips.
That sounds real.
That totally could be real.
That is real. It's by someone called the Electric Boys or just Electric Boys.
That's a good name.
Sticky digits, and then in parentheses, not fingers. Real or fake?
Say no.
No.
Yeah, it's fake. I made that one up. Couple more here.
But there is, of course, a Rolling Stones album called Sticky Fingers.
What about wet
Guessing no on this one. Fake.
and hot and wet?
It's by Aerosmith.
Either real or fake? Yeah, it's fake. It's fake. Come
Yeah.
on. And then finally, dang bang.
I don't even know what that means. I'm
Dang bang. Real or fake?
like, oh man, I'm gonna say that's fake.
I would say so, yes.
I made that one up. That was one of my favorites. I also really like
Huh.
wet, hot, and wet.
Yeah,
Yeah, that
going
was
back to
great.
wet on that one, like, I don't think I covered how wet it is.
My personal favorite though is Heart Freak, and I don't know why. There's something appealing about that name.
I was hoping that was real.
You know what? I've got something for you guys too, and it's a little bit of just a little housekeeping for the podcast for Bootu Boys before we get out of here, which is many episodes ago, we discussed Jackie Stiles from Missouri State University and her degree of celebrity. I said, probably no one knows who she is.
And I said she's the
You
most
both
famous person
said,
ever.
yeah, she was the NCAA collegiate women's scoring leader. People would know who she is. Did you guys know that just this past week, as we're recording this, Caitlin Clark broke the all-time NCAA women's college basketball scoring record?
Yes.
Good for her.
And it was held by Jackie Stiles?
No, it was held previously by Kelsey Plum for the past 7 years.
I've been
Oh.
hearing about Caitlin Clark for a year straight now about how ridiculous she is, and she's a beast.
Spencer just disproved the thing I was going to I was presenting this as aha evidence of that no one would possibly know who held the NCAA scoring record, and Spencer immediately was like, oh, it's fucking Caitlin Clark, the biggest support celebrity
She's
there is.
actually in State Farm commercials now, so she's
Whoa.
she's legitimately a huge deal. Like, I can't believe
I didn't.
she's all over my Google. They're just like, you want to know more about Caitlin Clark, don't you? I'm like, okay, it's fine. She's going to be the number one pick in the WNBA.
Twice I was thwarted. I will no longer claim that people do not know about NCAA basketball celebrities.
You got to learn a lesson sometimes.
And now's that time. I come to you both with my hat in hand saying, I am wrong.
Well, if you like what you just heard, and you better, then you can head on over to patreon.com/Bootu Inc. That is our Patreon site. Everything is free. You can give us money if you want, but you don't have to.
We're thinking
Bonus
about making
stuff.
it cost again.
Yeah, that's right.
We're
But
gonna
It's
make
going to
that
be like
much.
$100.
like a lot of money.
You might want to get in there while you can.
A lot of mystique involved. So yeah, go check that out.
No, Mystique would mean we put on face paint.
We'll
remember?
do that if you give us a 5-star review. We'll all get face paint and get a tattoo.
For
of,
sure.
Fate's White Wheel.
Yeah.
Some of them. How about the whole band?
I'll fucking record a whole Rock the Redhead.
Oh,
if you
yeah.
Give us a 5-star review. I don't give a shit.
You should probably just do that anyway.
And then we're also available on YouTube, of course, Bootu Inc. We've got the episodes up there in audio-only format, other bonus stuff. BootuInc.com is all of our written and extra things, some gifts on there. You guys do Goodreads. I think we are
Yeah.
Loud Guitar Brian and Golden Hat Mick. Did I get it?
You did.
Befriend us.
Do it.
Why aren't you a friend? You guys want to go rock the redhead?
I'm ready to rock the redhead right now. Maybe we'll hit the spot.
Hot spot.
Hot spot. Damn it, I fucked it
Hit
up.
the hot spot. We're going to take a break and hit each other's hot spot.
As I travel in space and time, I want to stay, I want to go. You see my face, but it's not mine. But you can see, you'll never know. How can we meet if I'm not there? Our hearts may touch, our bodies close, but time divides what we might share. That sends us on where no one goes. I'm just a traveler upon the sea of time, of life, of fate's wide wheel. Just a traveler in this mystery. For me, I am this life alone. We live, we love, all through the years. Yet deep inside we long for home, but it recedes, obscured by tears. I cry the time, it falls past me. The door of faith remains asleep.